Well, everyone, the iPhone 8 Plus is one of those devices that has made a lot of noise recently, which is very interesting. Now, I talked about the iPhone 8 Plus quite a lot this year, to be honest, and I made an early 2022 review of this thing, basically talked about everything from front to back of this phone. Now, I kind of want to refresh a few of those things that I normally do every year, and this phone has a lot of changes that have happened even since that first review that I made, even since 2 months ago. This thing has changed up drastically. Now, early this year, this iPhone was the pretty much third to last iPhone that was supported with software. So, realistically, this thing was, not going to be unsupported anytime soon, and it still had quite a long future ahead of it, to be honest. Now, things have changed up drastically. This thing is now technically the lowest supported iPhone on the latest version of software. So this iPhone is in a very interesting spot because just 2 months ago, this thing was in a very good spot. Now it's kind of on its last leg, and once it, gets unsupported, then it gets really hard to kind of make sense to purchase these iPhones, even if they get security updates. Now with the iPhone 8 Plus, physically not much has changed. Mine still has a really cracked back, but screen still looks good. Still feels very premium even compared to the iPhone 13s. It still feels very good. It does look a little outdated, as most of us know, but I think a big thing to keep in mind also is the price tag. This thing has maintained its price fairly well throughout this year, which is very interesting. Typically they would go down a little bit, and with this iPhone, I will say, because of the supply chain constraints that we had, a lot of these devices are in very interesting spots that even if they weren't, super great deals, they're starting to maintain their value a little bit better. So I think that's one thing going for the iPhone 8 Plus, but really that kind of takes us straight into the software side. This iPhone has gotten a very watered down version of iOS 16. So iOS 16 is the latest version of software. I've installed this version of software on my iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, and iPhone 10, which are all running the same exact chipset. And internally, the iPhone 8 Plus and iPhone 10 are almost exactly the same device. And after installing it for a little bit of time and comparing it to all the previous versions of software on iOS 15, I'm kind of seeing a very weird trend on the iPhone 8 Plus. And I will tell you, iOS 16 on the iPhone 10 is looking to be a much better experience than iOS 16 on the iPhone 8 Plus. So with the stability standpoint, it's kind of the same thing. So luckily not much is a huge issue there. With the iPhone 10, I'm getting a very, average type of experience on this thing too, for the most part. But the battery life is the one issue that I'm having on the iPhone 8 Plus that I'm just not really understanding why. My iPhone 10 pretty much lasted much longer from several different battery tests that I ran than my iPhone 8 Plus, which is kind of unexpected. I would not expect the iPhone 8 Plus to be doing this much worse than the iPhone 10. With something like the iPhone 10, this is a very capable phone, and the iPhone 8 Plus is almost the same exact thing. It doesn't have the same exact design, but the iPhone 8 Plus is still a very good phone for the most part. It's weird that it's not running so well on iOS 16. Now this comes down, I think, in a few different key areas. I think this is the first beta, so it's going to need to be improved for, a little bit, looking at the future. But it's also very weird because phones that notoriously had really good battery life, like my iPhone 10 or an iPhone 11, aren't really doing so well on iOS 16 either. So in terms of battery life, I don't know what's going on with this phone. But also, in terms of what iOS 16 means for the future of, iPhones, iOS 16 was a limited version of a software on these iPhones. With the iPhone 8 Plus, it got several features in iOS 16, but it also got a lot of features removed from this version of software as well, which is very strange. Typically, we normally don't see that from, Apple. They give us a lot of features and they support their phones for a long time. They kind of dropped support of iPhone 6s and iPhone 7 at the same time and all those other iPhones surrounding it, and they gave us a very limited version of iOS 16 on the iPhone 8 Plus. So I think as of right now, that kind of puts us in a very strange situation. So what I will definitely tell you is right now with the iPhone 8 Plus in 2022, I feel like Apple could have done a little bit of a better job on the software version. And I do think probably in the next few months, we're going to get a more refined version of iOS 16, which is good. But I will be curious to see what happens in the future with this device. I still think it's worth buying. I still think it's a great iPhone, but it will be very interesting to see what happens with the future of this iPhone. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.